At the end of our parsha, Yosef's brothers make a strange request, having noted after Yaakov Avinu's death that in their eyes at least there was a change in their relationship. They said, perhaps it seems it could be Yosef harbors hatred towards us. And he will return to us all the evil we have done to him. And therefore, they tell Yosef that Yaakov Avinu commanded Yosef not to punish them, and it seems to be some sort of plea bargain on the part of the brothers. Chazal learn, Rashi quotes from the Gemara, Vamos, Chazal learn from this episode, mutter l'shanos b'pnei hashalom. A person is mutter l'adam l'shanos b'davar hashalom. A person is allowed to say something which is not true in order to achieve shalom. That's what we learn from our parsha. The Gemara there continues, it's not only is it mutter, it's even a mitzvah. To make shalom is even a mitzvah. That we learn from Shmuel Hanavi. The question is, was the goal of the brothers here really to make shalom? If you asked me, I would have thought that they had a much more simple goal. Their goal is to not be hanged. They were worried. Yosef Tzaddik, now he's the Moshe L'chol Eretz Mitzrayim. They were worried that until now the only reason he didn't punish them was the threat of Yaakov's wrath. So now that Yaakov Avinu is no longer in the picture, they were worried. Simple worry for their own lives. How do we know? How did Chazal know that what was driving the brothers was actually the desire to make shalom? Perhaps the diuk is as follows. Yosef, for the last 17 years plus, has shown nothing but rachmanos towards his brothers. He has taken care of them financially. He has invested his entire career into their well-being, finding them places to live, sustenance, jobs. He has put them on solid footing in a foreign country, in a presumably hostile religious environment. And he has shown zero ill will towards them. He has shown zero harboring of his own hatred towards them. Perhaps Chazal noticed that this request of the brothers, yes, it is true the brothers were concerned that Yosef was going to harm them. And that is certainly the case. And Luyus Timenu Yosef, and they offer themselves as Avadim. But Chazal pointing out to us, I believe, that concern did not emerge from Yosef's behavior, but it rather emerged from the brothers' own inner feelings of guilt. And that's what it means, Dvar HaShalom. Shalom here is being used in the sense of the balance between different individuals. When one party wrongs another, when the brothers wronged Yosef, they created an imbalance. They felt terrible guilt towards him. And the fact that he didn't punish them, the fact that he didn't return the favor, as it were, left them feeling all the more guilty. They recognized their own guilt and they wallowed in it for 17 years. That entire time, they knew Yosef wouldn't exact retribution because of Yaakov Avinu's presence, but they still harbored that guilt. It was only when Yaakov Avinu passed away that now that guilt came to the fore and drove them to see in Yosef, they picked up on certain nuances that weren't actually there. They now saw in Yosef, oh, now the time has come that he's going to act on this fury that he's been holding inside for 17 years. But there was no fury. It was their own sense of guilt leading them to make assumptions about Yosef. Given their assumptions, what they were doing was not primarily, they weren't primarily trying to save their skins. That wasn't their primary intent. Primarily, they were trying to restore shalom. They're trying to restore balance to their relationship with their brother. And that is why Chazal uses as an example of a dvar shalom, that they were being mishana, and not mishana mipnei pikuach nefesh, not mishana mipnei sakan sefashos. They were being mishana mipnei hashalom. Perhaps one idea we can take from this episode, among this episode, is a lot to think about, but perhaps at least one idea is chaval on the guilt that they felt. Chaval that for 17 years they carried this with them, and they relied on the fact that Yaakov Avinu's presence would save them. But that reliance led to them not addressing the underlying issue. The underlying issue was their relationship with Yosef, that while Yosef had fully forgiven them, he had told them many, many years ago that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had sent him on shlichus. As much as they had bad intentions, in the end it was HaKadosh Baruch Hu's shlichus that he should end up in Mitzrayim. And he understood that, and he accepted that. They hadn't come to terms with that. They hadn't come to terms with that, understood it, and expressed it to him as a bakashas mechila. And it's chaval that it took them so long and then to come forward only because of Yaakov Avinu's death, led them to have to face their guilt and lead them to be Meshanim Mipnei Shalom. Perhaps what we can take from this is, when we have these feelings, when we feel like we have wronged others, to address right away, to talk things out, to restore our relationships, to come clean and be clear with others, and not delay. Have a wonderful Shabbos.